Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's neighborhood meeting regarding the North Orchard Oaks Apartments project. We're going to wait a few more minutes just to let some folks who maybe are having difficulties entering the Zoom meeting or who are running late to enter the meeting. So please bear with us for a few more minutes before we get started. Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today's neighborhood meeting for the North Orchard Oaks Apartments project. I just want to let you all know that this meeting is being recorded so that way we can upload it to the city's YouTube channel for anybody who's unable to join us tonight. But we're going to go ahead and get started. So to start off, we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing tonight for today's neighborhood meeting. So we're going to start off with some introductions of both city staff and also the applicant team. We're going to go over what the purpose of tonight's neighborhood meeting is, go over some of the project background. Then the city team will pass it over to the project applicant team, where they'll give a presentation on what they're proposing. Then we'll hand it back to the city team where we'll talk about what the next steps for this project are. And then we'll open it up to all of you. So that way you can ask any questions that you may have about the project and also provide us with your comments. So from the City of Vacaville, we have myself. My name's Noah Rambala. I'm an associate planner with the city's planning division, and I'm also the project planner for this project. I'm also joined today by Payman Bevand, who's the planning manager. and Aaron Morris, who's the Community Development Director. On the applicant's team, we have Alex Withers, who is the property owner, Ingrid Anderson, who is the main designer for the project, and then also Don McNair, who's one of the landscape architects for the project. And then also with us tonight to observe the meeting, we do have Council Member Freemel, along with Planning Commissioners Boma and also Commissioner Banta. So the purpose of tonight's community meeting is to introduce the North Orchard Oaks Apartments project and to provide you all with an opportunity for some dialogue to be able to exchange the ideas of what the project is and also answer any questions and comments that you may have. We'll also be identifying what the next steps are in the development review process as the city reviews this project application. So this project's located at the northwest corner of West Monte Vista Avenue and North Orchard Avenue in District 5 of the city. And in the city's general plan, it does have a land use designation of residential high density, which allows for development of up to 20.1 dwelling units to 30 dwelling units per acre. Correspondingly, in our zoning map, the project site is zoned residential high density. The property owner and the applicant submitted their development application in November of last year, and this application consists of 3 different entitlements: a major design review request, a density bonus request, and then also a request for an environmental assessment. The decision maker for this project application is the Planning Commission, and so now I'll be turning it over to the applicant team so that way they can give a presentation on what their project proposal is.
Noah, can everyone hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Ingrid.
All right. I just wanted to also introduce a 4th member of our team is here, Kevin Karstens of W-Trans, and he is a traffic and parking engineer for the project. As Noah said, North Orchard Oaks Apartments is a new infill multifamily building proposed for the corner of Monte Vista and North Orchard Oaks. It is a single 4-story building and designed as a courtyard apartment home. It includes 36 units, 2 of which are affordable housing for very low income families. Those are families that meet the criteria for very low income tenure, which I believe is 50% of the average median income in that area. The project site is just under 1 acre, and high density residential development is allowed to occur at 30 units per acre. We're proposing a density bonus increase that's allowed by the state of California in exchange for the provision of the affordable units. So a 20% state density bonus is proposed, raising the density to 36.7 units per acre, or 36 units on this site. Next slide, please. This is a view of the apartment building from the corner at ground height. And we would be standing opposite the apartment building on North Orchard with Monte Vista to the left of us. 2 mature oak trees that you see at the corner that exist on the site are being proposed to be preserved during the construction and be retained as part of the landscape design of the project. The driveway to the project is located along North Orchard, which is the long side of the project, to maximize the distance between the driveway and the intersection and keep that intersection safe from cross traffic. The project features a walled and fenced interior courtyard that is the entrance to the whole complex. And that's part of the Mediterranean architectural style that's proposed, where buildings often feature courtyards that are in the entries and within the building itself. The building is plaster, and plaster is a Material chosen because it suits the Mediterranean style of the architecture. It is fireproof and it does add building mass to the apartment building to give additional benefit of insulation from sound from the surrounding traffic. Next slide, please. This is a bird's eye view of the project showing the grain, if you will, of the neighborhood around it. Many single-family homes and a sort of a dense suburban settlement pattern with all the adjacent development being commercial, except behind the building where there is a single-family neighborhood. There are apartment buildings across the street as well. The developer is Alex Withers. He owns AMW Construction, and his family has lived in Vacaville for 3 generations. Alex's family currently live in North Vacaville as well. And he has owned a construction building firm in this area, based in Fairfield for over 15 years. So he's very familiar with creating high quality complex projects, residential and commercial building projects. He's going to be both the developer and the builder. And he acquired this site recently, just after it was zoned by the city, as shown in the city's 2023 certified housing element, to be high density residential. It was originally a commercially zoned lot. And the city is located near a city park, several schools, retail employment, and centers for public services. So it is an ideal location for high density housing. Next slide, please. And this is the landscape plan for the project. The 2 trees on the corner are shown in the green area there at the corner of the two major streets. And the parking lot is largely concealed by the building, which has the main visual impact to the neighborhood on the corner. The parking lot parks 47 cars and has 1 entry proposed. It is screened by a row of street trees on North Orchard Drive, and a parking canopy at the north end of the site is proposed for future photovoltaic solar panels. There is an easement, a PG&E power line easement that overhangs most of the north and west boundaries, so that's why that area is proposed as just open and landscaped at this time. The project, as you see, is a broken O-shape courtyard type building where some of the units look upon an interior courtyard. And the project team are 5 different engineering and design and planning firms. We've all practiced in this area for decades and have a long history of award-winning projects in the North Bay area. Next slide, please. This shows 2 circles. The inner circle is the 1/4-mile radius around the site, and the site is in the center, bordered by the red perimeter. The outer circle is the half-mile perimeter around, half-mile radius around the site. So half a mile is pretty doable walking distance, and you can see all the uses within that half-mile radius: churches, schools, high school, as well as elementary and middle school, trails, city park, and major grocery store, and a fire station. Downtown is just within a mile of the project. And access to some of the major retail along I-80 is also just over a mile from the project. Next slide, please. This is a photograph of the immediate neighborhood around the site. The site is the green hatched area in the center photograph, and the single-family homes and apartment buildings and commercial buildings are shown in this aerial photograph, as well as views of the surrounding streets. So as you see, it's a dense suburban type of settlement pattern. And some of the community input that we've received are acknowledged in this neighborhood meeting. They're listed in to the left of the photographs. We've had comments about how the project with its 36 units could overburden schools, that the revenue generated by residential projects could be less than what could be generated by keeping it as a commercial project. That traffic congestion and parking congestion are a concern for this neighborhood. And the concern also about the possibility that this would impact the city negatively because of the additional utilities like water needs that are needed. Also, there is a certain concern about for rent projects changing the demographic of the neighborhood and about property values and whether the project would have a negative impact on property values in the neighborhood. Another concern that was raised was about the removal of the existing trees on the site. Next slide, please. So we wanted to introduce some narrative about how this project was generated. It's generated from an understanding of the site, of the housing element, and the city's growth and housing goals in general. As you can see from this slide, not too far down the street, there is another large-scale project, a commercial retail center. And the apartment project itself, in terms of just density and texture of development, is compatible with that scale of retail and commercial development down the street. Also, the four-story building provides 36 new dwellings in a very compact form. And the upper story apartments can take advantage of some nice views around the city from the geography of the mountains. The corner site also creates a street edge that activates and enlivens the pedestrian experience of walking in the city and encourages pedestrian activity because of its proximity to schools and other services. The project is also conceived of in the Mediterranean style with a flat roof to keep its profile low as possible. Next slide, please. These are some views of the apartment building from the model of the building generated for the plans. The interior courtyard view in the evening is shown in the upper left. And in the upper right is a view of the project from the street diagonally across from the two oak trees that are being retained. And then at the lower left and lower right, you see some other views of the project. We're modeling the building along the street for visual interest and to activate the street front and also to reduce the building massing from the perception of being just a four-story block. And that is in keeping with the type of architecture that we are following. The tradition of Mediterranean vernacular is characterized by this asymmetry and the breaking down of massing, the push and play of the different planes of the facades along the street. This reduces the apparent overall bulk of the structure and the scale of the structure. And a lot of visual interest is brought down to the street level in the form of arches and the site wall, and other features like the projection of the ground floor and coloring of the stucco at the street level. Next slide, please. And I think we're just waiting. This is the rear of the project. The upper right-hand corner. There is a covered arbor currently proposed leading to the main rear entrance. That would be the entrance used by residents who are parking in the parking lot. And there is covered parking proposed for the site, that's shown in the row of columns with the large space behind it. That is a covered parking area. There is one space in that area for a standard car as well as two accessible spaces and the maneuvering area for people with disabilities. And along on the right lower corner is a view of the building from West Monte Vista and along the side yard or rear yard where behind it is a commercial project and also a small single family use, the street Westwood Court with some homes behind the building, and mainly the homes are behind the parking lot. Next slide, please. And here are some statistics and the elevations of the project along Monte Vista and along North Orchard Oaks. So these are the two main elevations. It is 52 feet 6 inches to the top of the project and 46 feet to the top of the roof parapet. The top of the project, the highest points are over the exit stairs and elevator shaft, which need that extra clearance so that you can have the shafts reach up to the roof and get access to the roof. Most of the building is 46 feet high, which is 1 foot over the maximum height limit in the zoning code. Of the 36 apartments, 19 are 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartments, and 17 are 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartments. And the parking required is 46 stalls. 47 stalls are provided. Next slide, please. Again, the parking facilities, 47 stalls, 2 accessible parking spaces in the covered area. 6 of the spaces will be EV ready, and there are also EV capable parking spaces. And we do have a parking management plan, although W-Trans has found that the parking and traffic anticipated from the project is within the limits that would not require the project to have a full traffic study. We have also a long-term bicycle storage room for up to 16 bicycles inside the building and short-term bicycle parking outside on a rack for 2 bicycles. Some of the features of the building, this is the rear elevation and the Westwood Court and commercial building facing side on the bottom of the page. Some of the features of the building are the 2 mature oaks that we are keeping in the project design. They have good likelihood of survival through the construction because they're in good health. We have a walled landscape courtyard with a fountain, an arbor-covered rear entrance walkway. It is an elevator service building, and there are 2 rooftop terraces with views of the interior courtyard, not out to the street or the neighboring projects. There's a leasing office. It will be an all-electric and sustainably built building. And all the trees that are being proposed to mitigate for the tree removal of the existing trees will be box-sized trees to provide maximum visual aesthetic impact from the beginning of the project's residential operation. Next slide, please. These are floor plans of the apartments showing the courtyard design, the entry court, and the interior court. There is a central corridor that rings around the building in a U shape and a lobby as well. And these are the upper floors, and the 4th floor shows the 2 rooftop terraces in the portions of the building that are only 3 stories high. And that opens up the interior courtyard a bit to allow more sun into the interior courtyard and also to keep the rooftop gardens private to the residents and for them not to impinge on the privacy of the neighbors. Next slide, please. This is the material and color palette for the building, a typical Mediterranean style material palette with ornamental iron and metal decoration, tiled fountain, metal lamps, outdoor lamps, banding, and a ground floor wainscot in colors to contrast with the mainly off-white color of the stucco exterior wall. And tile decoration on the wall and on the floors that are in keeping with the Mediterranean design. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to go over some of the community enhancements that this project offers to this area of Vacaville. These are 36 high-quality, new, sustainably built apartment homes for city residents, and 2 of the units are reduced-cost housing units that will remain so for 55 years. This increases the housing inventory in the city of Vacaville, where the vacancy rate is extremely low, lower even than in Sonoma and Marin counties. And that has been shown to stabilize rents overall in this area and stabilize vacancy rates, and also improve the chances that there could be any issues with unhoused communities in the city. It's also housing meant for workforce, the workforce portion of the community. And those are the essential workers, teachers, and service workers in the medical and hospitality industries. The energy efficient building will meet all current codes, and the project proposes, if not transit-oriented housing, pedestrian-friendly, walkable housing to many services within 1/2 mile of the apartments. I believe that's the last slide. Oh, here we are. We have one more. So we do have an environmental assessment for the site prepared by FCS, First Carbon Solutions, and it does include construction mitigation measures for noise and waste recycling and erosion control and tree preservation of the 2 trees that are being proposed to be preserved. And also, it does provide for off-site improvements, such as the construction of new sidewalks, ADA access, and compliant ramps all along the project right-of-way, as well as the widening of North Orchard.
Leave it. Leave it. Leave it.
And I believe that is the last slide.
All right, thank you, Ingrid, for your presentation. So just to follow up on what the next steps for the city on the development review process for this project is, we're continuing to collect feedback and questions and concerns from the public. And so if you have any, feel free to contact me. My phone number will be on the next slide along with my email, but my email is also on the screen here. It's noah.rambawa@cityofvacaville.com. And if you are watching this neighborhood meeting on YouTube, of course, you're welcome to message or email me your comments and questions at any time. Again, my email address is on the screen and will be on the next slide as well. And then on the city's end, as we review this project, we're continuing our evaluation of the application materials. We're working on determining what the appropriate environmental assessment is for this project in compliance with state law, and also completing our evaluation of the project requests. And once all of that is completed, we will be taking the project to the Planning Commission, which will be a public hearing during which residents and members of the public are welcome to attend and provide additional comments on the project. And the Planning Commission is the decision maker for this development request. And so that concludes our presentation. We're now going to be opening it up to the public to provide any comments and ask any questions that they have. We will be doing this one at a time. And so if you are on Zoom using the computer, please use the raise your hand feature, which can be found at the bottom of your screen under the React button. Again, use the raise your hand feature using the React button at the bottom of your screen. If you are dialing in, you can also raise your hand by dialing *9. And so I'll be checking in to see if anybody has their hand raised. And so it looks like Tim Randolph, it looks like your hand is raised. Feel free to speak.
Well, I want to say that I think the building's quite handsome. Um, I'm very happy that it is not being constructed along the entire length of North Orchard. I was very anxious. My primary anxiety initially was that it was going to be overlooking all of the single family homes, and I appreciate that it is so clustered on the other side. Um, One of the things, my main concern is going to be an increase in traffic and the parking issues that are going to result from this, because we're Americans and Americans love cars, and Americans often have more cars than people. Um, and so my fear is that people are going to spill out. I live on Buckeye Street, and we do occasionally get people from the apartment complex that is located across from the development site parking in front of our house. We have a long frontage, and so we often have people parking in front of it. I'm also very worried about access to the parking lot. I appreciate that you are sort of shoehorned into this little spot, and in putting the building itself so close to the corner, um, you really can't allow access from Monte Vista. But I do want you to be aware that most people are going to be trying to access this site from the south. They're going to be going up North Orchard, and they're going to try and cross traffic in order to get into that parking lot. And that is going to be difficult, especially during the school year and during those hours when people will be trying to drop their kids off and then leaving from the junior high school and the elementary school. Oftentimes, they cars are backed up all the way up North Orchard. Um, when we are coming and going during the school year, we often turn left, go up Monte Vista, and then turn right and creep into our own neighborhood. And I know that is what people are going to do. They're going to be frustrated trying to turn into the parking lot for the complex. And so they're going to work their way around and come down Buckeye Street or maybe Cottonwood and then come back so they can turn right into the parking lot. So I have a feeling I appreciate the difficulties that you're experiencing with this small lot and how you have to orient it, but that's going to be a problem. So I don't like I'm worried about that. Um, I am curious if the trees in all of the architectural drawings are showing the trees being in ground. But I had heard a rumor that only two of the trees that were going to be retained would be in ground and the rest would actually be in pots. And I think if you're going to have trees, I mean, you're taking out 166 trees or something like that. I think I saw that, and you're going to plant, maybe 32. At the very least, what you should do is make those be in ground so that they'll have an opportunity to develop to some height and thus provide a little bit more privacy for the residential spots. Um, I think I mean, even the dentist, I spoke with a dentist when this first came up, and the dentist was complaining they already have people parking in their parking lot. So when you don't have enough parking spots for the number of people that you expect to be living there, like my calculation is that you're going to have, the possibility of 55 cars in that lot, and there's 7 slots too few. That's not a huge number, but there will be overflow. That's most of what I have to say. I'll turn this over to somebody else.
All right. Thank you, Tim, for your comments. We're definitely looking at parking and traffic and also vehicular access as part of the development review process for this project. And once we're finished looking at these issues, they will be highlighted and as part of the staff report when this project goes to the Planning Commission. I do want to give everybody a heads up that we may not have all the answers to your questions at this meeting, and that we might have to look into some of your questions as part of the development review process, and we'll get back to you on some of these items. And again, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand. I do see Suzanne Murray is the next hand that I have on my screen, so feel free to unmute.
Oh, hi. And I have to say, I don't know, I agree with everything Tim said, except for that he thinks the building looks nice. To me, the renderings looked like a big white box, and I didn't see all that much that looked like a Mediterranean building. Also, there are no four-story buildings around here. The commercial building across the street is two-story. I know you probably think it's three, but it's not. I've been in it many times to do business. The traffic is going to be a huge problem. I get several neighborhood messages during the week, probably a dozen or 15, about crime and robbery in that area with the apartments that are already across the street. So I'm afraid this might be inviting even more messages I get during the week regarding crime. We already have a problem with water and electricity in this area. Our electricity was out yesterday morning. Let me see what else I have. I don't think the Mediterranean style fits this area. And it's a shame that you're only leaving two of the beautiful oak trees. And again, yes, when school lets out, that area is a nightmare. I have myself try to go around different areas, different ways to get places. I avoid leaving the house at 3 o'clock. And what is the retail and commercial development you were talking about down the street? Are you talking about the Maya Market and the businesses there that have been there forever? I mean, they're not developing anything nearby that I know of. And that one slide you had that kind of showed the building from the perspective of all the buildings around it, it made it look like all of our homes are 3 stories tall, but they're not. We're mostly single-story family homes. Like I said, the tallest thing are the 2-story houses or the orchard building on the opposite corner, which is 2 stories. And I'm not quite so sure how much you'll be looking down over the neighbors that live down in the end of the court, but I don't think they're going to appreciate 4 stories looking down on them, especially with a 2 rooftop terraces looking down on them. I'm further up the court, so it's not going to affect me that way, but I just can't imagine that the people down on the court are going to like that. Let me just look at my notes. I've been making notes, and give me just one more minute. I'm sorry, I'm complaining a lot, but it's just doesn't seem to fit in our neighborhood, especially 4 stories tall and that many units on that tiny little less than barely an acre. And again, people have a lot of cars. I don't know where they're going to put them. The water and electricity, again, is a big problem. So hopefully I've touched everything that I had written down, but I appreciate you letting me speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. You had mentioned you had a question about the commercial that was mentioned in the presentation.
Right.
I wanted to ask Ingrid, do you think you could provide a clarification on what you meant by the commercial in the presentation?
Yes, the speaker is correct. I was referring to the retail area just beyond the project to the south. I believe there's a supermarket there and some other businesses.
Right. And that's been there forever. I mean, that's not like they're just now developing it and they're changing this whole area. That's been there. I've been here more than 40 years, but on this street, and that's always been there. You made it sound like this is some new commercial developing they're building. So this big 4-story apartment should go up. It'll fit right in. And I'm sorry, it doesn't fit in.
Thank
Yes,
you,
I'm
Suzanne,
sorry
for
if I
that.
gave you that impression. I meant to say that this is an empty, underutilized urban lot, and there are some good retail and other service infrastructure within a half a mile of the site, including the one that is the supermarket retail area.
It would be lovely if somebody put a wonderful family-owned Italian restaurant with outdoor seating and tables and lights on that, and I'll leave all the oak trees and everyone could walk to the restaurant and enjoy a good glass of wine. Not a 4-story big white box.
All right. Thank you, Suzanne, for your comment.
Thank you.
No problem. We're going to move on to Brian, so that way Brian has a chance to speak. Feel free to unmute.
Hi, everyone. I've lived in Vacaville all my life, and I've lived in the neighborhood for 45 years. I grew up in the neighborhood, and now I bought a home in the neighborhood. And I mean, I don't need to repeat everything that the previous two commenters said. I agree wholeheartedly with everything they said. But one comment I'd like to point out, I thought some pictures in the slides were a little misleading. I mean, there's pictures where the trees that are there are bigger than the four-story building in the pictures. The trees are bigger, so it gives a perspective that's not accurate. And like Suzanne just said, a bunch of the houses behind it looked like they were these much bigger than they actually are. So I thought some of the slides don't really make it look as big and out of place as a four-story building would be in our neighborhood. And I'm pretty sure that everyone who lives in our neighborhood is in agreement that it's just way out of place and crammed in. So that's all I have to say, but I'll definitely be at the next meeting as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And yes, I do want to remind everybody that if this project does proceed to a planning commission hearing, there will be additional notice that will be sent out. If you're not currently receiving notices, please feel free to email me and I can add you to the email list. And then so next on the list, we have Barbara. Barbara, feel free to unmute. Barbara, are you there?
Okay, I'm unmuted. Are there any other four-story residential apartments in the city of Vacaville?
Yeah.
Yes?
None that I know of or have seen.
Okay. And what do you anticipate the cost of a one-bedroom or a two-bedroom apartment? And when you talk about cost reduced,
with my hand up.
hello?
We can hear you, Barbara.
Okay, and when you say cost reduced, what is that intended for? Who is that intended for? Is that for senior housing? Is that for homeless housing? Is that for veterans housing?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, thank you, Barbara, for your questions. I'm going to turn it to the applicant team so that way they can answer your questions about exactly what they're foreseeing the rental prices to be and who they're targeting for the affordable units.
Thank you.
Alex, I is the developer, and 34 of the 36 units are proposed as market rate housing. So the housing rate will be set by what the market rate is at that time. So I don't want to put a number on it on behalf of the owner. It is market rate housing, however. So that means a typical apartment building in this particular neighborhood will largely guide the developer as to what the apartment rents are going to be. For the affordable housing, that is guided by statistics that are gathered by the state for what the average median income is of any area. And there are different tenures of affordable housing. These units are very low income. They're not specifically meant for any certain population. Any family can apply for very low income housing. They just have to show data in the form of tax returns and I believe other kinds of reports on assets they might own that show whether they qualify for the income base of that particular tenure of housing.
So are you talking about Section 8 housing then for those two units?
It could be Section 8. There are other sources of other areas where low-income housing is available for nonprofit associations that handle guiding families who might need this type of assistance.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, and just to follow up on what Ingrid just said, as part of the development review process, we do work with our housing department in order to figure out how exactly we will ensure the affordability of those two units into the future. I do want to remind everybody, if you have spoken already, if you could please disable your raise your hand feature just so that way we can give everybody an opportunity to be able to speak if you haven't yet. Next up on my list, I see Karen. Karen, feel free to unmute.
Hi, thank you. I am also a resident at Westwood Court. I grew up in the neighborhood and bought a home.
See,
Um,
where anything that says to raise your hand.
can you hear me?
Hi, Karen, we can hear you.
Okay.
Gina,
Okay.
it looks like you're unmuted. If you don't mind just muting until Karen is done speaking, and then if you're able to raise your hand, we can call on you once it's your turn. Thank you.
Okay. First, I happen to agree with my other neighbors about how this four-story building doesn't match the aesthetic of this 1950s development at all. And it's going to change uh, the aesthetic of the neighborhood, um, and maybe not for the best. I'm also curious as to why, when we have a shortage of affordable housing, that only two of these units are dedicated to low-income housing. So that's not really going to put a dent in the shortage of affordable housing in Vacaville or in this neighborhood. And the market rate, we know, I mean, you might not want to say, but it's a lot. The rent is going to be out of reach for a lot of residents who would like to live in a new building like that. The loss of the 26 trees, I'm just wondering why this qualifies for an exemption. The impacts seem actually devastating to the natural environment. And then the fire access via this driveway, and seems kind of iffy, and access to water. How is safety going to be ensured? And then do we have the infrastructure for existing utilities, sewer, water to support these another set of apartments on that street in this neighborhood? I guess that's it. And then I feel like the traffic, when we have 5 schools using that intersection, making those turns onto Orchard or Monte Vista, morning and afternoon, um, pedestrian and student safety is going to be compromised. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, for sharing your comments. You did mention why is the project exempt from environmental analysis, and then also had some concerns about safety, traffic, and utility capacity. And I just want to bring up that these are things that the city looks at as part of the development review process. We're currently still in the evaluation stages of this project, but we did want to share the project early in the process with the community so that way folks have a chance to share their concerns and their feedback on the project. But these are things that our team, planning, utilities, traffic engineering, we're all looking at the project and evaluating these components, and that analysis will be brought to the Planning Commission when the project is ready.
Thank
Okay,
you.
no problem. Okay, the next person that I have on our list is named Motorola Moto G Stylus 5G 2024. If you don't mind unmuting, you have the floor.
Okay. Yeah, my name's Kathy. I live in the Buck Avenue apartments on Buck Avenue, and I I noticed that the possibility of people that are living in these buildings that just for 17 one-bedrooms. I mean, there could be 3 people in the 17 one-bedrooms. That would be 51 people just in the 17 one-bedrooms. And then the possibility for the cars would be upwards of 110 motor vehicles in that little area. And the congestion, again, I agree with the previous speakers that the congestion, I'm parking on this street in our apartment building. And I know that other people are too. So I just don't understand how that little area and the electricity going out too is quite often. So I just don't understand how it's going to accommodate all of this, all of these people in that little area and the trees too. And so, yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Next up, we have Lori.
Yeah, hi. I've lived here in Vacaville over on Homewood Street since 1969. That little lot on the corner is kind of like a it's personal to us, although there's nothing there. I pretty much agree with what everybody has said here, with the exception of the Italian restaurant. I'd rather see a nice little park, maybe a
Mhm.
gazing park, something calm
Mhm.
and serene.
Mhm.
My biggest concern about this project is the congestion that it's going to cause for that intersection. If you should probably all come over here around 3 o'clock on a weekday and
Mhm.
check the way it is now. It's awful. And then the parking isn't going to, the parking places are not going to accommodate the cars that the residents own. So that means it's going to overflow into street parking. Now, you got the residents using the street parking and that runs out, then they're going to start using the other parking. And when that runs out, then what are they going to go? They're going to go into the gas station and the dentist office, and they're going to infiltrate all other means, even the public streets. So that is a major issue for me. I'm not going to repeat everything that everybody else has said that I agree on, that I agree on, but those are my two main issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Next up, we have Catherine Jessen.
Yes, thank you. I grew up on Westwood Court. My parents still live in my childhood home on that court that is towards the actual court end of it, not at the top. So this would directly impact, everybody at that end, as well as very much piggybacking on what Lori just said. That corner lot is very, it's an institution, if you will. I went to Jepson, I went to Alamo, I went to Vaca High. I am part of this neighborhood still. I got married and I bought a house. We bought a house on Westwood Street, so I did not go far. With that being said, I'm a parent in this community. I have a child at Jepson, which now has almost 1,000 students between two grades, which is at capacity, if not above capacity, as an example. My youngest goes to Alamo. Again, there is constant trying to get kids into Alamo, as well as the other elementary schools that are at capacity. So with the influx of these multitude of individuals that I'm assuming some of them are going to have children, we already have a strain on the schools that are existing. And Vacaville's not great about forcing developers' hands for schools being built to align with these, new construction projects. So that's a huge concern as a community member as well as a parent as well. And then I do, like I said, live on the corner of Monte Vista and Westwood. And during the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. and 2:45 and 3:45, it is impossible for me to get in and out of my driveway just based on the current congestion that all of the neighbors have already touched on, that I'm not going to go into even further. But that is a huge, huge problem that I think I would invite everybody who kind of doesn't seem to have a good idea about this, which is much of the proposed team, it seems, to sit on that lot during those times and really kind of firsthand try to drive in that neighborhood. And then also, as well as, just see the amount of foot traffic and stuff. You have a lot of students going to and from school. There is no additional street parking. So to everybody else's point about the additional stalls being necessary or where the overflow is going to go, I understand that a variance has been, not approved, but a variance. This is all part of a variance as far as like the municipal code in Vacaville actually calls for more stalls for this type of infrastructure. And there's a variance that's been submitted. These people are not going to have anywhere to park. The apartments that are even on Acacia, that has overflow parking that is now even on North Orchard, which wasn't even supposed to be the case when that was developed. So I have some serious concerns about the congestion, as does everybody else. Additionally, we can't even keep our power on regularly as a community because the power, again, I've lived in Vacaville my entire life. I'm 43 years old. I have never lost as much power as far as a homeowner in the last, handful of years, but as well as just recently this past week, as somebody else mentioned, we had a power outage a couple days ago. And so there's no existing infrastructure that would support this. The infrastructure is aged, and I know that PG&E is working on upgrading that as it goes. But it is the street infrastructure, the water infrastructure, the electrical infrastructure is not there to support this. And then finally, to my knowledge, and I'm a realtor in this community, there are no other 4-story apartment complexes in this community. And if there were to be one, this is not the place for it. It does not go with the aesthetic. It completely would dwarf the existing neighborhood, which would decline home values and all kinds of different things. It would really be a negative impact. And to make it sound like it's within walking distance or whatever of this, retail space, there is a wonderful community market that the local neighborhood absolutely adores and supports. But this is not like downtown where, you have all these different shops that people are this is not. So that is kind of a problematic narrative that is part of the presentation that stood out to me. So I am grateful to have this forum to be able to do this. I will definitely be participating in the next meeting. And I really hope Vacaville does its community a solid and does not approve this.
Thank you, Catherine. Next up, we have Beatrice.
Why don't you do the sinus cleanse? The sovereign
Beatrice,
silver.
go ahead and unmute. It looks like you're still muted. So we're gonna give the next person a chance to speak, and then we'll come back to you, Beatrice, to see whether or not your mic's working at that time. Okay, so I'm gonna pass it over to Christy. Christy, you have the floor.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for offering the opportunity. I wanted to say a couple things. Quick Google search showed that the Vacaville apartment median or average rent for all of Vacaville, that includes both 95687 and 88, is $2,209. And by all means, I think the developer should have had to submit that in their plans, or should still, because it's not transparent and open that I have to go find that information. But that's quite high for this neighborhood and for Vacaville overall. I think the Planning Commission, and I would request that the Planning Commission demand a traffic and engineering study. The developer presenter talked about how the scale of the proposal didn't warrant a mandatory one, but I absolutely think it does, based on what everything that others have said. To Tim's point, I wanted to expand a little bit about people overflow parking in the neighborhoods, on Buckeye, Cottonwood, and even as far as Diadera. I live in this general area as well, on one of those three streets, and I've lived here for a shorter amount of time and notice than all the others who've commented, and notice how tightly infrastructured and streets can be in this general area. I envision even, Tim, people parking on these eastern side of North Orchard streets, western as well, onto Westwood like direction, but then trying to cross on foot over North Orchard to get into this new complex and being hit by cars. And then it not only do you have people physically endangered, they're certainly not going to go to the light and wait for the crosswalk. But then you have increased noise ordinance issues with increased stress on the 911 system for emergency calls for help. In terms of fire truck access, I know we have ladder trucks that would get to the fourth floor, but if there's a 47 lot parking lot that's completely filled, how is the fire truck going to be able to get close enough to combat any fire? The sidewalks, for instance, if you think of north from Jepson to Hemlock, which would be another neighborhood school that hasn't been mentioned so far, but that our home is assigned to send to. Those sidewalks on the east side of North Orchard are completely non-existent. That's private property as far as I understand, unless there's an easement. But the city is not going to want to fund either eminent domain or building a sidewalk for several blocks. The volume is of students walking to Jepson and onto Hemlock from these apartments can't work on just one sidewalk that's on the west side of North Orchard. I grew up in a tiny town. I'm 45 and I have never lost electricity as much as I have living in this neighborhood in 5 years. I would say it happens 3 to 4 times a month for multiple hours. There's no way that I would rent, even if it existed, even if the proposal went through. I would never rent an apartment for $2,200 or $2,300 in this neighborhood because of that inconsistent infrastructure with electricity. In regards to the trees, if those trees go in the ground at that lot, after you've taken out all but 2, those brand new trees that Tim also mentioned, they are not going to be able to survive given the climate and the old dirt really in that lot. The only reason there's still existing trees there now is because they're 100 and something years old. And I think that's a real shame to take out trees that old when the city has historically been very strict about what kind of trees you can take out and how they have to be replaced. Taking out that many trees that are that old, that are such a key part of this neighborhood, and replacing them with new ones, whether they're in pots or the ground, doesn't seem to fit their own rules for even our residential parcels with tree replacement. The retail that's next to Maya grocery store, which although we love it, would not be classified as a completely full grocery store that Americans are used to, like full service, doesn't have every single thing you could ever want. There's no retail there except one restaurant. And let's be clear, there's a church in that parking lot as well, but there are not multiple other businesses that are high volume that a general resident and not a specialty need would go to. It takes 20 minutes, like many others have said, to get out of our neighborhood in the morning and in the afternoon. And I can't even imagine what it would look like otherwise. Thank you for the time. I'll look forward to participating in the future.
Thank you, Christy. You did mention something about fire truck access and then also the need for a traffic study. I did just want to bring up that as part of the development review process, our fire prevention team and also our traffic engineering team, they do review all development projects that do come to the city, including our fire marshal. So these are things that our team is looking at. And again, these are things that will be evaluated as the project goes through the development review process and before it is brought to the Planning Commission for consideration. I am now going to pass it over. I want to check in with Beatrice to see if your mic is still working.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, your mic's
we finally figured it out.
Okay, if
Can
you'd
you hear
like to
me
speak,
okay?
yes, we can hear you. I just do want to let everybody know that it is now 7:05 p.m. and we do want to give everybody a chance to talk. So if you have new ideas that you'd like to share, please feel free to raise your hand. And if you haven't spoken yet, but I'm going to pass it over to Beatrice so she can share her comments.
Yeah, my name is John. I'm Beatrice's husband. We literally live on the backside of this lot. And, our questions are, we bought this house, with understanding there's a lot behind us with protected trees and they could never build behind it, and we accepted, a little bit of street traffic and things like that, but my question is, to the person, Ingrid, you made a lot of points in the beginning, of the concerns of everybody raising all these concerns. I never heard any explanations as to what they're going to do about these concerns. Yet, I have multiple concerns. Those what she pointed out being, all of them, and as well as, let me ask the developer, where he lives. Does he have a 4-story apartment behind his house
Good point.
that he's looking at a wall of an apartment building instead of these, majestic old trees?
Can show you what we see now. These are the beautiful trees that you want to cut. And we're not, I'm very sad. I hope the building doesn't.
No, I mean,
that's
regardless, even my neighbor next door, they bought their house for the same reason, and for them, to have to be subject to now all of a sudden looking at a wall, really? And, to the person that said, there are no 4-story apartments in Vacaville, well, she's right. I looked over on Alamo behind Costco at those new apartment buildings. Those are 3 stories. Go take a ride over there and see how tall they really are. Those things are huge. So I mean, this whole thing is just, I mean, I understand trying to develop, more apartments for, housing, and trying to stuff more people in Vacaville, which I don't understand. But the fact is, do you know how much land is around this town? And you got to pick this spot? Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
I'm upset, and forgive me for being so passionate, but I'm seriously pissed because like I said, I bought this place, understanding, what I'm buying. And I made the agreement to buy the house that, backs up to a nice looking lot with majestic oak trees that, that I'm the guy that's got to sit here and sweep up all the leaves every, fall. And I'm okay with that. But the fact is, yeah, go ahead. I'm pissed. Sorry.
No, I was wondering, I was looking at the rendering and there is a big trash. I guess the trash would be against the fence, which would be just, on the other
Yeah,
side.
you want to smell that all day?
Hey, John. And I don't think that would be great. We're concerned about privacy,
Noise,
noise.
security.
There is a parking just behind the fence. So
I've got solar on top of my house, and all of a sudden you're putting a 4-story, monsoon in front of my house where I can't get no solar power. Are you going to pay for that?
John, it's okay. So we're not, my husband is very upset. So we have a lot of concerns. Is there a way? I remember there was a site where we could see the actual rendering. Is there on a website where we can go and where we can see exactly what it's going to look like? I like, because here we're on the, we like to sit here in the evening. I would like to know if I'm going to have a building just in front of us. That would be nice. So I like is there a website where we can go?
Yeah, that's a great question, Beatrice. So, on the slide that's currently on the screen at the bottom right, it does have the link to the project website, which is cityofvacaville.gov slash 24-131. So you're welcome to use that website link to
Where
view
is
the
it?
plans. You're also welcome to come to our offices and we can help you see the plans as well.
Okay.
And I wanted to make one more point. We have a pool in our backyard. And when we bought the house, it had a pool, and we were under the impression that, we're liable if somebody jumps our fence and drowns in my pool. Well, having this nice, lot behind my house, I wasn't really worried about that. Maybe a vagrant there and there, but now I got to worry about 36 people times two because everybody's married, plus, 5 kids or whatever it is. And I've got to worry about how many people jumping in my pool and me being liable. Are they going to pay for my insurance now?
And we were wondering if it's going to devaluate our house to have this built on the other side there.
That was questions that Ingrid pointed out that never got answered. She pointed out all these concerns from all these people. All the concerns were pointed out, but they were never answered.
John, thanks for your comments. I'm going to jump in here and introduce myself since I didn't get to during the introduction. I'm Alex Withers. I'm the owner of the lot and the potential developer of the lot. I want to introduce myself and kind of give you a little bit of just a quick little background on me, my family, and where we're at.
Here.
Thank you. My grandparents actually lived across the street in apartments in the 70s. We're real familiar with the neighborhood. My parents went to school, graduated school in the neighborhood. My family now lives in North Orchard, my own family, excuse me, not North Orchard, North Vacaville. My kids attend the schools that we've been talking about the whole time. So I'm very, very, very familiar with the neighborhood. That's part of the reason we wanted this parcel. And we had a vision to bring something that we thought would be nice to the neighborhood because it's a great area. And, I appreciate everyone's passion for protecting the neighborhood and the small town feel in North Vacaville. I get it. I do want to answer a couple of your questions, though. I'm going to start with the trees. There are a lot of beautiful oaks on this parcel. Part of the reason I was so drawn to it. Unfortunately, we've had a arborist report done, and a lot of the trees aren't in the best of health. They've grown, they've never been maintained, they've never been properly pruned. And one in particular, the biggest one on the site, is right on top of your sewer and storm drain coming out of Westwood Court. So that large tree that's been unmaintained could possibly, it's not in a good spot. It's right on top of the easement that runs through the property. So what Ingrid did, the original idea was the apartment would be more spread out. We shifted it to the corner and we built the entire project around the two most healthiest sustainable trees on the property. And we incorporated them in that way. What are some of your other concerns? Somebody hop in your fence. We have a concrete CMU wall, which I would think would only protect you more from that happening opposed to the wood fence that's there now. And yeah, I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate everyone's concern. We hope to answer any questions or concerns we
Yeah,
can.
let me ask you, since I've have you, you're the guy I want to talk to. I just spent over $6,000 last year on this fence that I have currently right now. And I did not charge the person that owned that lot at the time. Just out of goodness of my heart, or hell, I don't know. I just didn't do it. But the fact is, what are you going to do with my fence? And are you going to build a fence behind my fence? And are you going to reimburse me $6,000 if you tear down my fence?
I think we'll work through those details moving forward. But I also want to point out that when I purchased this parcel, the first thing I personally did was went over there and picked up garbage from the neighbors that rebuilt their fences and used our parcel as a dumping ground. So, and I think that's...
Well, I hired a company, so I can't speak for the company.
And that's kind of what I'm noticing is this has become everybody's personal dumping ground, and we're just trying to clean it up and do something nice for the neighborhood. Thank you all for your time.
All right, duck and dive, dude. Duck and dive.
Okay. Hi, this is Pimon, plan manager. I think it's excuse me, Noah mentioned we have about 15 minutes. This is exactly what the intent of this meeting is, to give everybody a chance to, whether they're passionate or not, just get all the comments out. So I really do appreciate everybody doing that. The project is still being reviewed, so we're going to be able to answer a lot of your questions. But for the time that we have remaining, I really would like to give a chance to folks who haven't had a chance to provide their comments. So if
Yeah,
we could
thanks
do
for the
that.
answers. I'll mute myself.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. And Beatrice.
Hi, this is Suzanne. If nobody else has a hand raised, could I say a few things? Let me know.
Hey, Suzanne. Yeah, if you have something new to add, feel free.
Alex, I'm just curious, if you own the lot and you're saying the trees are unhealthy, why didn't you take care of them? And when there's 911 calls for someone in the apartment, where are the fire, you know how you get the two big fire trucks, the paramedics? I've been through this a few times with family members, not here on Westwood Court, but I know what it is like. Where are they going to park if it's 3 o'clock when the kids are all getting out of school? And when I bought my house, this neighborhood was called the Tree Streets because all of the big, beautiful trees. And you want to take all but two of them out for a big white box. Alex, you know, it sounds like you're all about the money to me. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for that. If you're not asking a question, if you can mute yourself so we can hear the speaker, that'd be great. Thank you.
Would it be, I'm sorry, I just have one more question about the next meeting that's supposed to take place. Is that meeting going to be in person where the community can come in person and be heard?
Yeah, so
Yes.
if the project does proceed to a planning commission hearing, that meeting will be in person at City Hall.
Okay, and in the interim, in preparation for that, we can send you our concerns that we voiced here today or any additional concerns.
Yes, you're
To
always
that email
welcome.
address. Perfect.
You're always
Okay,
welcome
thank you.
to email me comments. Those comments will be included as part of the record when the project does go to planning commission for the commission's review as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I see Melissa Fryer, you have your hand up. Go ahead, you have the floor.
Hello. So I guess just to reiterate, my main concern is the traffic. I stay in the apartments across the street. It's one way, and if I leave anytime pretty much after 7:30, it's like fighting to get a left-hand turn onto Orchard. So sometimes I have to make a left. I mean, I have to make a right and then another right just to get to the freeway. And in that regard, with the traffic document that was provided, I noticed that it said 13 a.m. trips and 14 p.m. trips, but then in the following paragraph after it, it says, as the North Orchard Oaks Apartments project would be expected to generate at most 14 peak hour trips. If you guys could clarify, like, is the 30 peak hours determined at one time in one specific time or total? Because in total, if it's 27, that is cutting it kind of close. And to a point that was made earlier, I think a traffic study would probably be best to, I guess, ease some of the concern of it.
Thank you, Melissa, for your question. As part of the development review process, our traffic engineering team is evaluating the traffic study and also the potential traffic impacts that could be generated by the project. So those items will be daylighted as part of the staff report when the project does go to planning commission.
And then one question, if I can slide in, if you or the team knows, just for context, it's 2 stories, but it is pretty tall for 2 stories. How tall is the building on the southwest corner of Orchard in Monte Vista?
Yeah, we can get back to you on that one. Okay, I see one more person has their hand up, which is Alyssa. I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't spoken yet and do want to have a chance to speak, we do have 10 minutes left in this meeting, so feel free to raise your hand. If you have something new or don't have the chance to speak at tonight's meeting, again, you're always free to email me. My email is on the screen, as well as my phone number. You're welcome to call me as well. You're also welcome to visit us at the City Hall. and I can also take down your comments there. And then, of course, as the project moves forward in the process, it will be going to Planning Commission. Another notice will be sent out, and you're welcome to comment at that meeting as well in person. So I'm going to hand it over to Alyssa.
Can anybody hear me? Hello?
I see Gina Matthews. I see that your mic's unmuted. Is that you asking if we can hear you?
Well, I just want to know how to get my hand up. I have no idea.
Oh,
Can you-
gotcha. Okay. After Alyssa speaks, I'll turn it over to you. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Alyssa, you have the floor.
Hi, yeah, this is Bill. I'm Alyssa's husband. I'm coming in a little bit late here, but from what I've heard, I agree with everything that's been said so far. I'm a little bit perplexed on. I hear that there's a lack of a study on the traffic. Just given what everybody else has said, I think, and that's for us. We're up on North Alamo, off Foothill actually, and that's this is our thoroughfare to school and to across town, downtown, and for a lot of people, I just can't imagine the impact, especially during construction, of what that's going to have for that intersection. It's going to be just really brought to a standstill. Another thing for consideration, I don't know if you guys had mentioned or thinking about. I know, if there's ever any sort of accident or incident on 80, Pleasance Valley Road to Foothill down through to Monte Vista, back across town to 80 is a big thoroughfare. It gets super busy. So if you have, incidents there combined with traffic from school or anything else, it's really going to be congested. Also, they are finishing the construction here on Foothill connecting to Pleasance Valley Road. They're really improving that, straightening it out, and I can only imagine that's going to increase traffic flow, certainly at certain points, like I had mentioned, with any incidents on 80. So I haven't heard any remedy for that or consideration for that. I wonder if any studies are considering that.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. Our traffic engineering team is looking at the circulation and traffic impacts of the project as we review the application proposal. So yeah, these are things that their team can look into. So I can forward your comments over to them. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. So I'm going to turn it over to Gina, but before I do, I just want to remind everybody, again, the decision maker for this project is the Planning Commission. So once city staff completes the review of the project application, the project will go to a public hearing before the Planning Commission, who will make a decision on the project. Again, members of the public are welcome to join that meeting. It will be noticed. You will receive notices in the mail. If you're not currently receiving notices, feel free to give me a call or send me an email, and I can add you to that mailing list. And then following the Planning Commission decision, that decision can also be appealed to City Council. And we can provide more information on that as well as that time arrives. But I'm going to turn it over to Gina, who will be our last speaker for tonight. If you didn't have the chance to provide your comments during tonight's forum, you're again welcome to email me or give me a phone call or provide your comments at City Hall in person. So I'm going to turn it over to Gina.
Go ahead.
You got this?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my question asked about the building codes. And there was a slide that showed the elevation of the building, and the comment was made, most of the building is at 46 feet. Is that correct?
I'm going to turn it over to the applicant's architect, Ingrid, to answer that question.
Yes, the majority of the building is at 46 feet, which is 1 foot taller than the maximum height limit in the zoning code.
Right, and that's my concern. Now that does 46 feet, you're 1 foot over the maximum building code. That doesn't include the section of the elevator, which I think was at 57 feet. Is that correct?
This is outrageous. This was not warranted. It was just under 57, 52.6 actually.
52.6. So now you're what? You're 6 feet, 7 feet over building code
It's not the building code, it's the zoning code.
or zoning code. Okay. So now you're 1 foot over, quote, most of the building, and you're above that for the elevator shaft for the zoning code. Is that correct?
Right.
So you guys are proposing building a building that doesn't meet zoning codes. Is that correct?
It doesn't meet the city's municipal code. It is using the state's density bonus law, though, to allow it.
What you got for providing two units for low income. So you traded the height of the building, which does not meet the zoning codes, for two low income housing units. Is that correct?
Yes, the density bonus law allows the developers certain benefits in exchange for provision of affordable housing.
And just to jump in, as part of our review process, we do evaluate the project's consistency with the city's municipal code and our own local development standards. And then we also work with our city attorney's office to make sure that any project that is being proposed and any actions that the city does take does comply with state law. And so these are things that we do evaluate as part of the development review process, and they will be highlighted during this in the staff report and the presentation when it goes before the planning commission.
Okay, so you're building a building that doesn't comply with the zoning codes because you're over height, but you exchange the over height on the building for two low income housing units. Is that correct?
Yes, in using the density.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's all I got. Thank you.
All right. We're going to conclude tonight's meeting. It is 7:27. We want to be respectful of everybody's time. If you did have additional comments that you wanted or questions that you wanted to ask, you are welcome to email me. My email is on the screen. It's noah.rumbawa@cityofvacaville.com. You're also welcome to give me a phone call. And if you need any assistance in accessing the project plans or information, again, feel free to reach out to me and I can direct you to that project website. We appreciate you all for taking time out of your evening tonight to join us for tonight's neighborhood meeting. And again, if you have any questions or comments about the project, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you again, and good night, Vacaville.
Good night.